All right guys, today we're going to make some homemade marshmallows. This is actually a really easy candy. You are going to need a candy thermometer for this. In this saucepan, I've got some corn syrup, sugar, and water. In this mixer bowl, I've got some gelatin, and I'm gonna add some cold water to it. It's important that the water's cold, and we're gonna let this gelatin, what we call in the industry, bloom. And that means basically get nice and hydrated. And while this is hydrating, we're going to cook our little sugar syrup. Perfect. So what I like to do with my gelatin, as you can kind of see, it's just kind of clumpy. We just want to make sure that we break that all apart and it gets a chance to actually get hydrated. That's all we need to do. I'm going to pop that on my mixer with a whisk attachment so that's ready to go for later. And then I'm just going to get this sugar syrup on the stove. We're going to cook this to 240 degrees Fahrenheit because we're here in Reno and we're at a higher elevation. But if you're at sea level, you're gonna wanna do 250. An easy rule of thumb is for every 1,000 feet you go up in elevation, drop your candy 2 degrees. So we're doing this to 240. And as I do it, I'm not gonna be whisking or stirring at all, but I will take a little pastry brush with some water, just wash down the sides so we prevent crystallization of that sugar. And I'll show you what that looks like later. So when you wash down the sides of the pan, take a pastry brush with some water and just drizzle that on any little chunks of sugar that you see that are on the sides. Sugar likes to crystallize. If you think of rock candy, that's exactly what you're going for, is crystallization there. We want marshmallows, not rock candy. So we're just gonna do this throughout the cooking process. As this cooks, you're gonna see it start to bubble up really high and then go down a little slower. It's gonna all be okay, but start temping when you start to see those bubbles go down a bit. So you may have wondered, if you're like me, what is on the top of your marshmallows when you get them in the store? We call them marshmallow dust, and it's actually equal parts powdered sugar and cornstarch. So I'm just gonna weigh this over on this scale right here, and I'm gonna sift it as I go. We want no lumps in that, and that's actually just gonna go on the top of our marshmallows. While that's on the stove, I have a prepared sheet pan. I sprayed it with some pan spray, layered it with some saran wrap, and then sprayed it with a little more pan spray just so we don't let it stick too much. So I'm gonna get my marshmallow dust ready, so that's good to go when we are ready to get going on these marshmallows. All right guys, we are about 1 degree away. Oh, we just hit 240, we're perfect. We're gonna take this off the heat. I'm gonna start my mixer on a medium speed and start to speed up. This has got the mixer with the gelatin and the water in it already bloomed. An important pro tip here as we start to whip this is we are going to drizzle this sugar syrup on the side of the bowl first. You really don't ever wanna hit the whip because that is gonna just sprinkle it all over the place, and nobody wants hot syrup getting at them. Step back a little bit if you're worried. Just keep going real nice and slow. We'll work that in there. If you were to just pour this hot syrup right under your egg whites, you would start to cook part of the egg white, and that would not be delicious. So we're just gonna keep going nice and slow here. Easy way to clean this pan, just get some hot water in it, soak it. It's gonna be perfect and good to go in about 5 minutes and easy to wash. So I've got a second part of cornstarch and a little bit of flavoring. I did vanilla, which is very classic. You can go any kind of flavoring you want. Fruit is really great, raspberry, black currant, something with a lot of flavor, packs some punch. You can do chocolate marshmallows, you can do coffee marshmallows. Really think like a chef and branch out and do something you think would be really delicious. But that's where our flavoring is just this extra bit of cornstarch, and we are gonna pour that in now. It's still quite hot, but it will start to cool down pretty quickly. I'm starting my mixer out on medium, and then once all my sugar is added, I'm gonna move it up to high. We wanna whip this until it's mostly cool. We want still a little bit of heat so it's nice and pliable in our prepared pan. And we're just gonna let that go till it chills out a little bit. All right, guys, this is whipped until it's pretty much room temp about. If your hands are desensitized like mine, because I touch hot things all day, use the back of your hand or even your arm to just tell what temperature this is. It's about perfect. And I'll show you how just increase in volume that is. Now look at that. Essentially, this is what you would buy as like marshmallow fluff in the store. And I mean, am I right? So we're gonna pour this into our prepared greased pan. I mean, is that heaven or is that heaven? It literally looks like a cloud to me. So I'm gonna wanna scrape out all those little bits. And then the biggest thing is we just wanna spread it out to the edges of the pan so it's nice and even. This is gonna need about at least an hour to cool before we can really cut it. After you've cut it and it's cooled, you can decorate it with chocolate. You can sprinkle candies on this. Anything that you think would be really lovely on your hot cocoa or coffee or anything you really want to use a marshmallow for. You could do graham cracker crumbs and chocolate if you want to make s'mores marshmallows. Really just get creative. But a simple vanilla marshmallow to me is perfect. Oh, yum. Another pro tip, if you want to even out your pan, you can tap it, move it from side to side. This is set really beautifully. You can tell because it's not moving too much. I'm going to take my marshmallow dust, half powdered sugar, half cornstarch, super easy. And we're just going to make sure we really kind of over dust the top of these because we really don't want them to get dry. That's not good. You don't have to worry about being perfect. It's all gonna be evened out in the end. Yum. All right, guys, so we're gonna let this set for an hour and then we're gonna come back, dust them off and get them cut.